right, Ambush. And today we are joined by a country pop singer, a songwriter who has been releasing quite a few. Ooh, they are some real good to the ear sounds. I am mad enjoying these last two tracks that our guest here has released. One in 2021, one here coming out, and as of recording in a few days, by the time you're hearing it, it's out. The new single is entitled People Like You, and that's what we're diving here behind today with my guest, Charissa. How's it going today, Charissa?
Great, how are you?
Ooh, having myself a wonderful day. I cannot complain. All right, and of course, like I mentioned, we're here to talk a little bit about that musical journey that you have been going through here. And of course, like I also mentioned, you've released two singles a little more recently, but you actually had some songs that you released. Your debut track was 2017. Your sophomore single was 2018. And there's a little bit of time in between point A and point B. So, of course, that's where I would love to start off is what was that sort of a 3-year period in between releasing music?
For sure. Well, in 2017, I was an independent artist for a long time. I've been at it for over a decade. And I released I Got My Girls and Feel Good Song independently. And after those releases, I just took some time to kind of focus on what I really want to write about, my sound. And I also met my manager in that time, and we got to working together. And then I signed my first record deal with Coalition Music. So there was a lot of time there, and we just worked on really creating that sound and these songs.
Oh, okay. So after putting out some pieces of music yourself, you realized you needed to put together a team.
It kind of just happened.
Okay.
I'm very grateful for that one.
I can imagine. Probably allows you to focus a lot more on the art, right?
Well, definitely. Yeah. It's definitely very helpful to have the team and to work together and just have that guidance too.
Absolutely. I can imagine that for sure, especially through the past couple of years here where the entire music industry was flipped on its head. Everybody's had to adapt and all of that fun stuff too, right?
Oh yeah, it's been chaos, that's for sure.
Yes, it's so when exactly did you sign to Coalition?
It was in 2019. And then I went to Nashville and did my first real writing trip.
Okay, awesome. So Nashville being one of those music meccas and of course pretty much the songwriting capital of the world. So inside of being able to take a trip like that, what were some of the things that maybe you picked up?
Well, I've actually been to Nashville a few times before that as well. Like I went to the CD Baby music conference, and I did some sort of just conferences and networking there a few years before that as well. And Nashville is awesome. Like it's just, you want to be there. Like if you're in music, you want to go to Nashville. And it's just always so inspiring being there. It just kind of, lights that spark again.
Absolutely. Surrounding yourself with so much creativity.
Oh, for sure. And, you can't go anywhere without it. Like you're in the airport and you're going to hear a band playing.
Absolutely, for sure. So, of course, you signed with Coalition in 2019, and there's still a little bit of time, which I'm sure is sort of helping to build up all of everything, making sure everything's ready once you get back to releasing your own music. But one thing that I noticed is this latest track, People Like You, and maybe another song were actually previewed back in 2020 through some acoustic videos. So you've actually had this new song sort of on the back burner for a while now.
Well, Scars and All was written a few years back with my friend Carrie DeMayer. And we recorded a live off the floor version of that. And we decided we wanted this song to be part of the EP, part of my first release. So we went back into the studio and did that.
Ooh, okay, so both of the recent singles you've been hyping up, given that different vibe too. So the fans have had a while to maybe get used to these songs, but of course, over time, things evolve, things grow. So, of course, you mentioned Scars and All, which was your first single back with this Wave 2 of Charissa, and it came to us here in, when was this? Let me flip some papers. It came in September 24th of 2021. So before we dive into the song itself, I need to know, what was it like to finally release music again?
Amazing. I mean, for a while there, the real plan was to have new music out sometime in 2020. And then there was just nothing. I had my last show in March, and all of a sudden the world was just quiet. And, it was a really hard time. But once we were able to get back into the studio, it was just, what can I say? It was the best feeling after not being able to do that for a really long time.
Mm-hmm. And once you got into the studio, who were you able to get into the studio with? Who helped you to bring these songs to life?
So I was working with Colin Cripps, actually, from Blue Rodeo.
Ooh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. And, I grew up listening to Blue Rodeo. My mom's a huge fan. And I just remember always hearing it kind of in the background and going to Blue Rodeo concerts as well, like with her. And so it was just full circle. It was a really great experience. And yeah, in that time frame, I learned, it wasn't, we were in the studio for a few months, and I just learned so much from Colin.
What would you say some of the top things maybe you learned from Colin were then?
He really helped with my harmonies. I've never been someone that's great at harmonies. I've always struggled with it. And he really helped me with that. And it was pretty funny, the process of getting the harmonies down. But once people listen to these new songs, they're going to hear them. And just know it took a lot of work.
A lot of work, but sometimes doing something right takes time, and it's worth doing, right?
Yeah. And even now too, when I'm writing, I find myself singing some harmonies, and I'm like, look at me. A year ago, I wasn't able to do that.
Awesome. Wow. Well, growth in not just as a human being, but as an artist, continuing to learn things even after a decade of chasing it, right?
Of course.
Hey, always something new to learn. And of course, as we mentioned, this led to this song, Scars and All. So what exact energy were you trying to capture behind this track?
It's funny because when you listen to the one on YouTube, the acoustic version, it's very laid back, it's like that Americana feel. And when I brought this song to Colin, he immediately heard it as like a John Mayer kind of like, and we were in the studio and we had the band in one room and I was in another room, and we were tracking the song. And I remember just being so excited hearing that loop. And he kind of just brought so much energy to the song and life that like I never would have thought for this song, but I ended up just loving it.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy how different that refined set of ears is. You've had this song for so long and you've heard it so many times, but you've never heard it like that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's wonderful how that it evolves, and of course, very powerful song as well. And you keep that theme going with the more recent track here. As of the recording of this interview, it actually releases in 3 days, but by the time the fans are watching this, it's already out. The song's out. They've hopefully already heard it. You better have heard it. But either way, the new track is People Like You, and you mentioned that sort of laid back feel, sort of that acoustic Americana vibe, and you can definitely get that with this song.
Oh, for sure. And this song, it goes back a few years from my first writing trip and in Nashville. And one of my co-writers that's on it, Crystal Lee, when we were writing together back in Nashville, she actually had the idea, the world needs more people like you. And I remember really liking the line. And, we when you're in the songwriting room and you're just kind of bouncing ideas off, you just get to talking and you talk about what's going on in your life and all that. And, I still really love that line, but we ended up writing something completely different that day. Just not even that vibe. Like it was a complete sassy kind of rock country song. And then, go to 2020, there was a melody that came to my head and I had to write it with Crystal. I'm like, well, I have to write this song with her. It was the idea, right? And we'll dive into that more, but it's just crazy how like a line can stick with you for a while.
How a song can evolve, right? Where it's not ready right now, but somehow years down the road, it's suddenly it's found a home. Oh my goodness.
Sure. And that's happened before to me too. Just with like a melody that just randomly pops into your head and you go, I have a song. Like this will fit with that song.
Absolutely. So that idea, people like you, those luminary lights inside of the world, being positive forces type of idea, correct?
Totally. Exactly.
Hey.
I think we need more of that right now.
More than ever, I think. I mean, it's the luminaries of the world unite, be bright, but it's don't burn too hard. You got to keep yourself alight too, right?
For sure.
Hey, and then hopefully we can illuminate each other.
Hopefully, yeah.
Awesome. I love the vibe of this track, the energy behind it, the way it builds, and of course, like we just talked about, just the feeling, the vibe behind the lyrics too. Fantastic. And of course, you mentioned both of these pieces are coming off of an upcoming EP that's going to be coming our way later this year. So without giving away too much of the magic of this upcoming project, what can you tell us?
Well, it's actually not that far away. I think that's all I can say about it, but expect it soon.
Oh, so if the listeners don't want to miss out on that, they better go ahead and follow you on the socials, on their favorite music streaming platform, all of that good stuff then, right?
For sure. Follow me on everything. And it won't be too long.
Ooh, absolutely. And I will have
After
links.
3 years.
I'll throw links so that the listeners can go ahead and click those in the description to the show below. Make it nice and easy for them so that they can go check out not just this new track, not just Scars and All, but maybe even that 2017 single, I Got My Girls, maybe that feel-good song. Either way, get them a little bit of Charissa inside of their life. And of course, the opportunity to get a little Charissa inside of some people's lives live has, of course, maybe taken a little bit of a dip in terms of the opportunities. But of course, last year, you did get to play a drive-through concert. And if I am correct, you do have a concert next week as well here coming up.
I do. Yeah. There were some opportunities there. But I'm really excited to get back to the Moonshine, and because I've played there many times, and that's actually a stage where I really like to try out new music, and it's just very comfortable, and everyone's so kind, and that's the place for sure.
All right. And if the fan, the listener, you said the Moonshine, where is that located?
That's in Oakville. Just outside of Toronto there. Ooh. Yeah, and the show starts at 7:30.
Okay, so a little bit of a hop, skip, and a jump on over to Oakville from Toronto. Exactly. Get yourself a good time. So of course we've mentioned that the future holds a new EP. It holds at least one live show coming up. Hopefully.
Yeah.
much more. What else does the future potentially hold here in 2022 for one, Charissa?
Oh, well, definitely music. And it feels like I've been working towards this my whole life, really. And definitely some shows. Have to release music and there's going to be shows. So I'm really looking forward to just diving back into that and seeing people in person. I really miss that human connection.
As many of us do, because thankfully we have technology to be able to communicate, but it just doesn't replace that in person intimacy, right?
That's so true. Like I'm sure we all miss that. But with things like this, it's great.
hmm Gets us through until once again we can be reunited and maybe a Carissa concert in the future.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. All right. And I have had a blast diving behind some of this musical journey here up to this point, up to this new single, People Like You. I have one last question for you here, Carissa. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready for it.
All right. So, of course, like I just mentioned, we've discussed this getting back into releasing your own music, signing with Coalition, crafting your debut EP, all of this good stuff. But what I would really like to know now is through this time, through this process of doing exactly that, how has it helped you to grow as a person, or what has it taught you about yourself?
Well, I think just everything that happened during 2020 and up to now, it's just I've had I've learned patience, that's for sure. That's number one. I've been very patient. But that's the thing. With life, we learn every single day. And regardless of what's happened, I'm grateful for the opportunities that I got to still go into the studio and record music and just grow as an artist in many ways. Learning harmonies for one, and just working on the craft. Just having all this time, and I'm just proud that I really wanted to just focus on that, and regardless of how I was feeling, it was a really hard time. But I managed to come out of it with some new songs that I'm really proud of.
And you should be proud of, because like I mentioned, these new songs are fantastic. And like I
Thank
mentioned
you.
earlier, the listeners, if you haven't heard them yet, you definitely should go out and check them out and keep your eyes open, your ears open for that upcoming debut Carissa EP, maybe coming sooner than later. Ooh, ooh. All right, Carissa, I want to take just this last moment, this final moment to thank you oh so much for
Great.
taking
Thank you
time
so
out of your
much.
day to
Yeah,
join
thank
us
you for
here.
having me.